As we finally settle in for some cooler weather here in sunny California, I think it's that time of year to get cozy on the couch with my favorite games. While I do enjoy reliving the nostalgia rush of emulating the retro games of my childhood, I do also enjoy playing modern titles on my PC handhelds, so I thought today I would do a video showcasing 10 of my favorite games to play on a PC handheld this year so far. All the games featured in today's video should run well on most PC handhelds, including the Steam Deck, ROG Ally, Legion Go, or in my case, the Onexplayer 1X Fly. This is a 7-inch PC handheld with a 7840U chip in it, so it should be relatively the same performance as something like the Ally or the Legion Go with their Z1 Extreme chips. Additionally, except a couple games where I'll call it out, I ran all these games at a 15-watt TDP to level the playing field, and I'm playing these games at a native 1080p resolution on this device, which means that at 800p on the Steam Deck, they should be about the same performance, relatively speaking, taking account to the wattage, performance, and resolution variances. Now, I do have an unhealthy obsession with the genre of Vampire Survivors clones, so I'm going to split this video into two sections, 5 games that riff off of this gameplay style, and then 5 games that are not Vampire Survivors style, with a couple bonus honorable mentions at the end, and these games aren't presented in any specific order or rank. That said, let's jump straight into the Vampire Survival style games. If you're not familiar with this style of game, essentially you move your character around, a lot of the times you don't even aim, and you often auto-cast your skills as enemies slowly move towards you from the fringes of the screen. You roam around, collect experience points that they drop, and select upgrades throughout the game. You usually earn some type of currency that persists across runs so that you can purchase some incremental upgrades such as increasing your health pool or your damage for the characters. That said, let's get straight into the first of these games, and that is called Time Wasters. Time Wasters is a two-dimensional space-themed game of this genre, and you fly around in your little spaceship, get various upgrades. There are several different types of weapons based on the, I think they call it captain, that you choose for your ship, and you unlock different captains throughout your runs. And then during the run, you collect the gold, which is the currency for upgrades when you level up within the run, the time cubes, which allow you to re-roll and purchase some larger upgrades, and then the space cubes, which are the permanent currency that you can spend at the home menu to unlock more permanent upgrades to the various captains and abilities, outposts, etc. in the game. This game really is exactly what its title suggests. It's a bit of a time waster, it's fun, it's a turn your brain off type of game, and I really enjoy playing it when I just don't want to think a whole lot about the game and blow up some spaceships in a space-themed little jaunt. So if you want something that is a little bit lighter, space-themed, and runs great on any hardware, then this is a pick that you really can't go wrong with. It has a very positive rating on Steam, and it came out last September, and it is only $5, so there is a lot of content here for those $5. At the time of recording this video, I have about 4 hours of gameplay time on the clock, and I've still only scratched the surface of the upgrades I can buy in the game, so I'd imagine that this game has quite a lot of gameplay for $5, and it might be one of the more budget picks on the list today. Coming up in the second spot on the list today, we have Halls of Torment. If you played Diablo 2 or other ARPGs in the 90s or early 2000s, the art style in this game will probably speak to you, as it's essentially what would happen if you took Vampire Survivors, Diablo 2, put them in a blender, added some modern features, and released them on Steam. As with the typical fashion, you roam around as the enemies go towards you. In this game, you do actually have the ability to aim and attack yourself, or you can turn the auto aim and auto attack on for a more classic Vampire Survivors experience where you just have to use one joystick to move around. And of course, as you gain your experience points, you get to choose your different options as you level up. And I think really the appeal of this one is just that grungy, retro, Diablo 2-esque style. It's got the fun gameplay of a modern roguelite Vampire Survivors type game, but with that cool retro aesthetic. So if you played Diablo 2 when you were younger and you like this genre of games, then this is definitely a must-buy title. This also comes in at $5. It has all-time reviews that are overwhelmingly positive and then recently very positive on Steam. So again, you can't go wrong with it. I've got 16 hours on record for this one and still have plenty of content left. So tons of value for $5 here. Staying within that same theme, we have the third entry on our list, which is Death Must Die. This also pays a little bit of homage to the ARPGs of yesteryear with a little bit fancier graphics, although still in that pixel isometric style. I would say that this one almost takes some of the aspects of the previous game on this list and adds in almost a little bit of a Hades 2 influence. I think the selection screens for the skills and the various gods that grant you those skills are a little bit reminiscent of the type of system and type of buffs that you might see in Hades for your skills, but still a completely different game with a different style that is more like Vampire Survivors than it is Hades. A lot of interesting upgrades that are in this game, so one that I really enjoyed. Right now it's $7. It is still in early access, so it is constantly getting updates and adding new stuff to the game. I don't know if that's going to be the permanent price once it releases, but still a pretty good choice at this price point. Right now I only have 3 hours played clocked on Steam on this one because it is a newer addition to my collection in the past couple months here, but it is quickly becoming one of my favorite Vampire Survivors clones to play. I just have so many of them that I do have to split my time up as I play through all of them. Current reviews on Steam put this as very positive. In the fourth spot, this is one of the games that's been out for a little bit longer on my list here. I think it originally came out in 2022, though it is still in early access and receiving some major content updates. In fact, they've done some complete overhauls and revamps of skill systems and are constantly adding new classes to the game. Out of all the Vampire Survivors clones we are covering today, this is probably the one that is the most in-depth and expansive in terms of just the sheer amount of upgrades in the game. You have skill trees for each character in which you can purchase various points, some which affect just that character, some which are account-wide across different characters on your game. You also have runes, which are a couple sets of modifiers that you can choose to put on various aspects. Maybe you want more bleed chance, maybe you want smaller attacks that are more powerful or larger attacks that are less powerful, maybe you want additional chance to apply elemental effects, etc., etc. A lot of interesting things you can do with runes there to kind of alter and complement the playstyle. You have a bunch of different classes that you can level up. You have additional weapons that you can craft for each class that add different attacks into the pool, and on and on. This is just a game that has a ridiculous amount of options. You've got several different maps, which each have various tiers of difficulty. Kind of like the heat system in the original Hades, you can add modifiers to make the bosses or enemies more difficult, spawn new pillars or damaging enemy types, etc. that increase the difficulty of your runs and also increase the rewards, which then allows you to level up across the difficulty progression. Now a little bit longer, I do have 44 hours. I've spent an entire work week of my life playing this game. It is also very positive and currently $10 on Steam, slightly more expensive than the last two, but I think that it probably has slightly more content in terms of just how much stuff you can do in it. I've slowed down playing this one a little bit in more recent days just because I played it so much, but they keep producing updates and adding classes that make me come back to this one. So really fun to play. This one's a little bit more performance intensive than the previous one since it is 3D. Of course, it will still run on your handheld PCs, including the Steam Deck. You may just have to turn down the graphical fidelity a little bit or turn up the wattage you are providing for TDP so that it runs a little bit smoother. You also have the ability to turn down visual effects and other things to help with frame rates in the game. And finally, the last game in this genre that I'm going to cover today is Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. If you are familiar with dwarves in space from Deep Rock Galactic and you like the Vampire Survivors genre of games, then you should probably buy this game as it melds the two of those together perfectly. This one is probably my favorite of this genre that I've been playing in the past few months. Since February of this year, I've clocked already 27 hours on the game. This is also $10 and it is in early access, so as with the others, it is receiving updates as it goes. Now this one is one of the games where you may need to crank the TDP up past 15 watts a little bit. I think for this video recording, I'm going at 17 or 18 watts on the One X Fly in order for it to run a little bit more smoothly. And on the Steam Deck, you may need to either use some of the resolution downscaling or some of the graphical effects settings to lower the fidelity of the game so that it runs smoothly. This is a game where there is no aiming and there is no dashing. It is simply a single stick to control your miner as he moves around. One of the interesting things here is that there is actually destructible terrain. You can mine through the walls and gather resources such as gold and nitro, which are spent on your upgrades while evading the bugs. It's pretty fun to use a variety of different weapons, whether it's flamethrowers, machine guns, pistols, microwave rays to fry, splatter, and otherwise decimate hordes and swarms of gooey, ooey bugs. So definitely a lot of fun going on visually in this game, lots of big explosions, lots of pretty graphics, definitely one of the better looking out of this genre and more modern graphics in this list today. I highly recommend this one. It is very positive on Steam and definitely worth checking it out if it's a style that speaks to you. Alright, for the second section of the video and 5 more games, we're going to talk about games that are not Vampire Survivors clones and from various genres. It's definitely roguelite heavy, as those are the types of games that I feel is kind of suited to the handheld PC playing, but that is not the only type of game presented here, so let's jump right in. First up, we have Backpack Battles, which is an auto-battler type of game. You proceed through multiple rounds with a class of your choosing, and you get currency to purchase various items to your backpack. There are weapons that use your stamina pool, there are upgrades that augment those weapons, there's various other items that increase things like your attack, your status effect, maybe there's poisoning, there's shields, thorns, all the kinds of things that you know and love from various games and RPGs. Once you've spent your gold for the round and added some items to your backpack, you will join a battle where you auto-battle against another character with their own backpack loadout that they've chosen. And of course you win or lose depending on whether you match outclass or underclass them. Between each round you go back to the shop, get some more currency, purchase more upgrades for your character. Some of those have interactions with each other that turn them into other items after a round, and then you fight another round, and you hope to win all 10 rounds before losing all 5 points of your life. There's a few different ways that you can build your loadouts in this game, and this is probably the #1 chill game on this list as far as there is no timing, there's no dodging, dashing, attacking, figuring anything out. It's definitely a more tactical game where you just think about how you want all the items in your backpack to interact across multiple turns and hope that you build the best. So far, a lot of fun with this game. I have about 14 hours logged on Steam. Again, this one is in early access. This one is a little bit more than the Vampire Survivors clones at $13, but still much less than your average AAA game with plenty of depth to it. Very positive reviews on Steam, definitely worth checking out. Speaking of relaxing games, here is Little Kitty Big City. This game is very endearing to me, and maybe I'm biased because this is one that I play with my little kid in my lap, and she loves to look at the kitty and the silly hats and costumes he puts on as he roams around the city. The story of this game, you have fallen out of a window from your home, and you are trying to figure out how to get back in the big city, and it is a fun game as you romp through various terrains and scenarios, trying to figure out how to get back to your home. You encounter various NPC animals that help you after you complete quests for them. So whether it's pouncing on birds to get feathers, finding nuts and bolts and bushes to give to the crow, or just roaming around and hopefully landing on all 4 feet, Little Kitty Big City is a very relaxing and incredibly adorable game to chill out with. And if you have kids, it's an excellent one for them to watch as you don't have any violence or crazy stuff in it. This one is overwhelmingly positive. We're getting into a little bit higher price point at $25 on Steam. However, if you have Xbox Game Pass, this game is available for free through that platform, and that's actually how I played it. So again, if you have Xbox Game Pass and you like cats, then definitely absolutely download this game and at least check it out, as it doesn't cost you anything. Next up on the list, we're moving in a wildly different direction with the genre, and we have The Planet Crafter. Factory, crafting, base building, those kind of games are definitely up there as top favorites, along with Survivors clones and roguelites. These are the types of games that are my bread and butter. Now, I play all the other mainstream games and check them out like other people do, but these are the games that are my comfort zone. The Planet Crafter is a game where you crash land on a planet that is barren, and your job is to, well, craft a planet. You find various resources and upgrades as you slowly build your base to pump heat, oxygen, and other resources into the planet and its atmosphere to slowly terraform it into a living, breathing planet. This one has a ton of depth in gameplay as you can do a lot of base building. There is a lot of exploration and finding things throughout the game. There's resource management where you're mining and crafting items using those resources. So really a fun game and a fairly unique gameplay. This one's $24 on Steam with recently very positive and lifetime overwhelming positive reviews. I think I've put about 14 or 15 hours into this game, and this is actually one I picked up just a few weeks ago. So definitely been doing a little bit of binging on this. So if you're the type that likes creative sandbox games, base building, factory games, etc., then this is definitely a worthwhile game to check out. Now, I'd probably be lying if I said that these last two games weren't probably towards the top of the list, even though I said that I was not doing a ranking list. So second to last here, we have Spell Disc. This is kind of your typical roguelite game where you procedurally do runs, kill enemies, gather resources, get upgrades, get permanent power bonuses, unlock a chain of upgrades, and start all over again, but a little bit harder. The typical roguelite experience. What makes this unique amongst others in this genre is the quote-unquote disc-based system. So you kind of get generators and spenders, so to speak. You generate these discs that have various effects, like perhaps every time you finish attack, generate X amount of mana, and you get a spell that might say something like cast a frostbolt after your 60 mana is generated. The cool thing here is that you can create a lot of unique synergies as you build different things. Maybe you want to do lightning focused, so you find lots of discs that are based on lightning effects and lots of spells that cast lightning type spells, or maybe you want to go with the physical attacks of your character because you do have a weapon you can attack with, one spell that auto casts, and then the remaining spell slots that cast based on these discs. So if you want to do more of a physical playstyle, you can get a bunch of discs that are cast based on you using your weapon, charging up your attack, dashing, etc. Or you could pick a build that's more spell focused, focus on it getting started by your auto-casted spell, and then cascading sequence of casts based on your discs and not attack at all. Really what's so cool about this game isn't necessarily the depth across multiple runs in terms of the unlocks, although that does exist. For me, it's the ability to choose how the character plays. You can really change your playstyle and your build. It's kind of cool to have different builds and not just the same skills across each run. It can be a little frustrating at times because there is an RNG element where you get different discs and different spells. As you play, you do get some permanent upgrades that allow you to re-roll those or modify them in different ways. And then once you have them, you can upgrade them or tear them down to get the resources back. So still some variety in the way that you can rebuild yourself for that. But yeah, super fun. I have 22 hours clocked on this one. It is $15 on Steam right now, and it does have a demo available, so you can check it out free of charge. And this is one of those games that just feels like it was made for a handheld PC. It looks amazing on the Steam Deck, it looks amazing on the Ally. Pretty much any screen you put it on, the pixel graphics just pop, and it doesn't require a ton of power, so it runs just fine without totally draining your battery on the device. So I can definitely recommend Spell Disc. And last but not least, possibly a game that needs no introduction, we have Hades 2. The first Hades game is kind of a genre-defining roguelite. It just has amazing voice acting, characters, the art is just exceptional, both the illustrated art as well as the pixel graphics. It is super vivid. This is a game that looks amazing on something like the Steam Deck OLED with all the darks and the vibrant colors, but also looks pretty great on any display. The nice thing about something like the Onexplayer, the Ally, or the Legion Go is that this game is relatively modest in power requirements, so if you turn up the wattage, you can absolutely get 120 plus frames per second for that buttery smooth action gameplay. As you can see, I did turn on the performance stats while playing this game and recording the footage, and most of the time I'm getting around 120 frames per second at just 15 watts. I'm not going to go super deep into it because this is a game that is covered very well throughout the gaming media, but suffice to say, you have different boons that you can purchase as you gain experience throughout the run that can modify your gameplay style and give effects to your attacks and specials, as well as the permanent upgrades that unlock more powerful things for your character, such as multiple attempts to resurrect during a run, and etc. I won't spoil the whole game for you because there's quite a lot of depth to it, but it is an awesome and amazing game, and this maybe even borders on AAA production values, even though it isn't a quote-unquote AAA game. That said, because it is a big and beautiful game and a well-known quantity in the gaming industry, this I think is the most expensive one on our list at $29.99 on Steam. Very positive reviews, but I think that it is well worth the price. I've already played 40 hours. The only reason I stopped playing is because I was waiting for some of the content updates since I bought it during the early access period. I think this was originally projected to have a full release later this year, so I'm not sure if that is still the case. So if you want to wait for the full release, you certainly can, to make sure that all the content is there when you start. Either way, an amazing game. Wouldn't hesitate to recommend it. And if you haven't already played it, then you should probably go out and buy Hades 1 right now. If you own a Steam Deck or an Ally and you don't own Hades in your collection, then I don't know what to tell you. You're not my friend. And since I have a hard time making choices in life, I couldn't get it down to just 10, and I have a few honorable mentions here that maybe didn't make my top 10 list for one reason or other, maybe more limited gameplay, just haven't played them as much, been out for a while, etc. So first up, we've got Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. This is on Xbox Game Pass for free, so if you've got that, certainly check it out. This is a fast-paced, fun, twin-stick shooter style game where you run around, rob the banks, shake people down for money, blow up the cops and bad guys, and what the heck, you are a turnip and everything else is vegetables, so it's just fun. You should definitely check it out. Another honorable mention here, kind of like Little Kitty Big City, is a bit more relaxing and whimsical gameplay. Another game that I like to let my daughter watch as I play. It's Lil Gator Game. The premise of this is that your big sister has grown kind of old and is not interested in childish games as much anymore, but you want to prove to her that they are still fun, so you are going to take this island and make a bunch of friends and build a village to impress your sister. Super fun art style, runs well on most systems without any issue whatsoever, and it's just really a fun time. On Steam, Lil Gator Game has overwhelmingly positive reviews of all time and very positive recently, and it is $20, so definitely worth a check out. And our final game for the video today, another honorable mention, is Ravenswatch. The only reason that this one probably isn't in the top 10 is just that I haven't played it enough yet, with about 3 hours on record. Shout out to Smoney on the Discord for recommending this game and opening my eyes to it. This one is definitely one of the harder games on the list. It is a rogue-like as well, maybe even a rogue-lite. It's kind of in between the two genres. I think there are some permanent upgrades, but largely there's not a huge power gain between runs. So this one relies a bit more on gaining skill and learning the character. Of course, you get upgrades throughout the run and try to beat a big bad boss at the end of a few nights. So yeah, if you're looking for a bit more of a challenge, this might be the game for you. $25 on Steam, and it just actually released full 1.0 out of early access just a couple weeks ago, and it does have mostly positive reviews at the time of this review. Alright, so thanks for sticking around with me and checking out some of my favorite games I've played this year. Let me know in the comments below if you have played any of these games and whether you like them or not, or if maybe you are looking into checking out those games. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. That way you can see more videos where I talk about games as well as handhelds and just help out the channel in general. Thanks so much for watching and happy gaming.